I was born in 1976, the bicentennial. I am a Korean adoptee. I knew this even as a small child growing up in Oregon. I was aware that I was different from other kids in my neighborhood, and that our family was different from others in Hillsboro, Oregon. I left Oregon to go to college and discovered the internet. KAW was created in 1998, an internet chat group where Korean adoptees were able to discuss their unique cultural identity with others like them. I discovered the website in 2002 in my second year of graduate film school. I found a group of people able to talk about being adopted, able to talk about loving their adopted parents, but wondering about their birth parents, about being Asian, but being raised culturally as white, about discovering language to put complex feelings into words, and finally having someone understand through shared experience. All this and more was posted on the website. People talking about self, family, and relationships in the most intimate language. This was, of course, aided by the internet itself. It's easy to post from the relative anonymity behind a keyboard, safe because you'll never see them in real life. Alien, one of the most well-known and respected Korean adoptees, posted the idea of meeting face-to-face. What started as a lark swiftly became reality. A gathering place was agreed upon, the 4th of July weekend was selected, and every member of KAW was invited to come and meet others with which so much sharing had taken place. Of the 987 registered members on the site, only 13 dared to show up. In 1955, Harry and Bertha Holt watched a documentary about Korean war orphans. The Oregon parents of 6 were so moved that they decided to adopt 8 of them. But international adoptions were nearly unheard of in 1955. While Harry Holt went to Korea, Bertha Holt lobbied Congress, which passed the Holt Bill allowing them to adopt the children. Their story captured the nation's imagination, which led to families nationwide seeking Korean children. The Holts were inspired to create Holt International Children's Services in Eugene, Oregon, to help other American families adopt Korean children, eventually 60,000, and the South Korean government began formalizing the adoption process overseas, something that was culturally unheard of before the war. Before then, any adoptions usually occurred within the family line. Over the next several decades, South Korea became the largest supplier of children to developed countries. What started with the adoption of war orphans morphed into a system that became the primary social policy for children abandoned by poor families in the 50s and 60s. In a reflection of changing social norms, most adopted Korean children in the 70s and 80s came from single mothers, just as more Americans were having abortions and gaining access to more reliable birth control methods. About 200,000 South Korean children have been adopted overseas, with the vast majority, 150,000, by American families. Although I quickly agreed to attend the Korean adoptee gathering, reservations, in the form of questions, took shape in my mind. Chief amongst them were, will real-life personalities approximate internet personalities? How will we negotiate the awkwardness of first-time face-to-face socialization when we already possess detailed, intimate knowledge of each other's lives? Can we interact in person with the same ease of the internet during the 3-day weekend? What happens if we can't? Upon arrival to the adoptee gathering, grudgingly, I allowed the others to take pictures of me, my personal contribution to breaking the ice. Despite, or maybe because I am a photographer myself, I am reluctant to let others take pictures of me. More on this later.
And we're sitting there waiting at the window for our hamburgers, and the tornado siren goes off. I mean, just really loud, right there. And she said, "What's that?"
Wonsuk is Alien's wife. Everyone admired her a lot because she's from Korea, and she knows how to cook Korean food. She knows how to speak Korean. She's a national treasure of Korea. She's a very successful painter.
Stop at the winery and check it out. You know how to get there, right?
Don't go to winery yet. Go to winery with, but okay, you can go. But I have toothbrush if that's what you're going for.
Well, he wants
Okay.
split
Just tell
flops
everybody
too.
I haven't brushed my teeth yet this morning. I have Japanese toothpaste.
Really?
Here.
And an ice machine.
Yeah, they had some in their drawer that I helped myself.
Oh,
to.
really?
It's
Yeah.
very
When you
nice.
travel, yeah.
Some people have really weak enamel anyway, so even if you brush and floss every day, you're still gonna have a mouthful of cavities. And other people will like never brush their
We
teeth
have,
and they just never have
A
a
lot
problem.
of deer here. Tons
I think
of
the trick
deer.
is to drink a lot of wine. The alcohol will.
There you go.
Kill off your natural germs hanging around. Rinse.
Bacteria.
You gotta like swoosh it around in your mouth. Yeah.
Like the wine taste.
Thankfully, our host planned some activities: wine tasting, talent show, volleyball, a hike, and fireworks show. For those inclined to talk with each other, an excuse to interact. For those having trouble, a way to look like they were participating and save face.
Wait, Sarah, how'd you get back there?
I did some talking. Alien arranged it all.
You blend right in. You blend right in.
What's that? She does.
You blend right in. The what?
Did you pull strings to get back here? Yeah, Alien gave me tips on working with people. 101.
The taste of this, you're gonna find quite complex. You've got extra. It's got a caramel aroma and a dark berry aroma, and I really like to have it with vanilla ice cream and caramel. Oh, that's very good.
And that's something good last night, whatever.
Okay, Sarah, what are you doing?
I'm just following you around. I'll follow Trish.
Follow Trish.
We want Kim to be our Michael Moore. We're gonna do in your face documentaries, and you're gonna be Michael Moore.
You people will have to leave now.
Couldn't she make a perfect Michael Moore?
Why? What are you saying?
Doing a good job. Good.
After a couple of strained interactions, I suspected that my holding the camera was turning all the Korean adoptees into actors. Bad actors at that. Many folks were already a little nervous. I decided to put the camera on a tripod so that I could walk away from it at times. still get footage, but open myself up for more participation. Watch Kip and Anthony in the next sequence, and you'll see what I mean.
I sit there and hit the ball on the playground, I remember, but I never actually played the game.
Well, see, you're
Was there
supposed
a
to, it's
purpose?
like, it's kind of like a little dodgeball. You hit the ball really fast, and the other person has
You're supposed to hit the other person?
I just want to get the book. Oh, do you mind?
Okay, no, I don't mind.
to hit it back after you, something like that. It's been so long.
Would you like me to film you?
No,
I remember they had it on every place.
Why?
I just remember they had it on every place.
I don't like to be on film.
I know you don't.
Which place are in
That's what you said. You told me you would rather be behind the camera than in front of you.
I feel bad if, people, I can understand why you wouldn't want to be on.
No.
Wouldn't want me to shoot.
When exactly did this come out?
Kip, do you mind if I follow you around for a while?
Sure. What kind of camera is this?
It's a Panasonic AG DVC 80?
Oh.
DV80
Does it have a tape, run off a tape or memory?
tape, mini DV.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a very good camera. It's a very good prosumer camera.
Good post.
Prosumer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what's this thing do? Just sun blacks out ambient light or something?
It might act as a hood, but I think it sort of can hold a filter in the front thing.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And and this and also there's a polarizer on it helps to you can bust a $15 polarizer, but if you bust the lens, it's a different thing.
Right.
So this is like extra protection, I guess, for the lens.
Cool. So
Yeah, it's pretty heavy too.
did you make a film
Yes.
before? Right.
When I was 15, my family moved to a small mill town named Madras. My father had lost his business, and Madras had work. My sister Amy and I were the only Asian teenage girls in the entire region. We were constantly stared, gawked, and leered at. This is when I discovered a creative outlet in photography, where I could control the image. I sympathize with those who, like myself, are camera shy. I know you got talents, Peter.
Brandon, write a number from 1 through 10.
Ooh, mental telepathy.
All the numbers?
No, just one.
Pick a number. Pick a number.
1 through 10?
Through 10.
4.
Wrong.
7?
No.
Okay, I can't do that. Oh, sorry. Alright, I can make a point.
That's not-
here, right?
Okay.
Alright, now I'm going to make it, rub it into my, okay? Then what's going to happen is I'm going to rub it in, right? And it's going to disappear into my elbow, right?
I just saw you put it down your collar.
This is a high block. This, like if someone's coming overhead, high block. And this is a resting position. So you go high block, and as soon as you block, get that. So, okay.
Whoa.
And whatever you.
Alien is a Hapa, Korean War orphan. He survived being a homeless kid on the streets. He was adopted to the U.S. He's a very successful entrepreneur. He basically invents medical devices and has his own company where he manufactures them and sells them. He's used his success to help do a lot of charity for North Korea and is maybe the most notorious Korean adoptee in the community and for Koreans. Many mixed-race people, when part white, turn their backs on their ethnic community, so it's meaningful to adoptees that Alien embraces his Asian heritage.
Well, actually, I found that one really kind of weird one. Is I have like a really good sense of balance. Like, I saw like on some special show about like an average person like can balance on 1 foot if their eyes are closed for like 23 seconds.
Really?
And then, yeah, and then they had like this world specialist, like unicycle guy, you know, had an extreme sense of balance. This and that. He did all these tricks, and he did it for like 1 minute 3 seconds. And I stood there and did it for like 3 or 4 minutes. And
Let's see it.
Let's
see it.
remember, I had 5 beers already in a few hours.
Yeah. Not
Is
fair.
somebody talking?
Does it affect you if we touch?
Yeah.
Wait. No, don't do that. Let me see what this is.
Yeah, he's gonna fall and smack his head on there or something.
Alright.
When you're raising your leg like
Don't
that.
do
It's just
it.
gotta be one. It's just gotta be one leg with your eyes closed. And
Alright, let's have a
This is like the
contest
DUI
and see who can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eyes
Ready?
closed.
go.
Alright, that's it. Yeah, that's enough.
Shake your legs.
He's got a time. He's going up.
You can
time.
continue to do that. Let him keep all these interruptions, disturbance.
I always drunk.
Yeah, no, but I went 3 minutes and I stopped last time.
Okay, keep on.
You do have a good sense of balance.
See, the hard part is it's like one leg is so weird.
It looks like the Karate Kid.
Wait.
Before he hits the ball. There you go.
One of my favorite photographers is Henri Cartier-Bresson, the father of photojournalism. He is the author of a seminal book called The Decisive Moment, wherein he talks about the artistic value inherent to the photograph and photographer. Her manipulation or artistic choice is temporal as much as it is visual. It is the simultaneous ability to recognize the significance of an event and compose the frame to give the event its most proper expression. The Decisive Moment inspired photojournalistic realism in photography and cinema verite in documentary filmmaking. Cinema verite aims for an extreme naturalism, using non-professional actors, non-intrusive filming techniques, use of handheld camera, the use of genuine locations rather than sound stages, and naturalistic sound without post-production. It is the purest expression of my own creativity, the type of cinematography that I most embrace and admire.
Alright, change sides. Change sides.
It's supposed to be like a 10-minute break.
No, we want to wear you out. We have longevity. Oh.
Hit it, Sarah!
So you getting some good film?
I hope so.
And what was interesting is because the surface scars are on the front of my arms, my hip, my front of my legs. There are no scars on the back of my body.
It was an accident.
It was an
a cart accident.
It was a cart accident.
It was a goat cart accident. Was the goat okay?
Oh, it was it might have been
Or
ox.
ox.
It might have been ox.
But you know, because I still, even years afterwards, thought that it was something that I had made up in my mind. And when we were going through the Eugene office, we were getting a tour of it, and we were talking, there were a couple of us that were talking to post-adoption at Holt and Eugene, and we're walking around, and you know Mary Lee Vance. She and I had driven up from Eugene from Portland to Eugene, and we were walking around, and suddenly I turn around, and there is a picture of a cement white courtyard.
A cement white,
a courtyard.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh,
I flipped. Yeah. And poor Mary Lee.
Gotta keep those orphans in there, damn, they'll escape.
They never escape. But it was just the courtyard.
The courtyard, did you remember it?
Oh, yeah.
It was a courtyard that looked like in my head.
Yeah.
Isn't that pretty common?
Yeah.
It was probably very common, but
she would know that.
I wouldn't know that, but when I saw it, it was
you
like
see it and
to
it's
see
from
it
memory.
actually in black and not black and white, but in a hard type copy and not something that you have seen in your head, and suddenly being faced with that reality, it was like, oh my God, maybe what I saw in my head really did happen. Because up to that point, I really thought I had been making this up.
Yeah. Well.
Have you been to, or do you guys know about the homes where young pregnant mothers go to have their kids and are taken care of, and then they relinquish their children?
So I don't think this happens in Korea. I don't think this happens in Korea.
I think now they do.
Korea?
Well, I heard that there's a whole book of letters that I guess these mothers wrote.
Yeah,
I think there were probably like the old.
Yeah, we know the book.
So does it exist then?
I'm sure.
I'm sure they did.
In modern times,
unless
not
the book
probably back
is
in
science
60s,
fiction.
70s. Yeah.
Science fiction.
Like what it is for the mother side. You know, there is a poem about mothers giving up children. Korean poem. I think Joe Rankin's poem talks about that, about her mother. And I asked Joe, and I spoke to her, and I asked her, how come you never write about your father? And none of us really think about the father. We all think about the mother more so.
Welcome.
Yeah, out there. 고맙습니다.
고맙습니다. What else is
시시.
맛있어요? 맛있어요?
It's the wrong word.
Huh?
We got this one.
Well, it's delicious.
맛있어요?
맛있어요.
맛있어요?
Because I was trying to do it and somebody finally said it's like shit.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, okay. I wasn't saying it correctly.
How do they do the strips? How do you make the strips?
These are eggs.
Cut them as like, you do it like an omelet.
Julian. Bless you. Bless you. Bless you, my child.
A lot of Korean people who first come to New York, and sometimes you get on the subway, especially to Queens and places like that, after midnight, there are a lot of sort of fresh off the boat immigrants in the subway, because they go to a job and then they go to another job, like sweeping, whatever, and then they sleep in the subway, riding it all night, and then you go to work the next morning. I don't know where they get showered or anything.
Well, I mean,
don't tell me you did that.
An adoptee shared a story with the group that later he asked me not to reveal. I promised him I would not.
Ooh. It's almost like popcorn.
Before I had kids, and people said, well, when you're a mother, you'll understand. But I definitely feel like after I had kids, that I have any concept of giving my child up. Actually, that's part of what I feel is really difficult about thinking about what my birth mother went through. I was actually kind of thinking like in the fall of Saigon, we had this picture of people throwing their children to
The soldiers.
Maybe.
Or,
I couldn't possibly figure out pretty much maybe in that kind of situation I would. But, as a mother, I'd almost risk thinking that the communists are going to come and slaughter me and my child, put my child on a plane to go to America. I mean, it's possible that in that kind of situation I would think if my child were about to be killed, I would rather put him on a plane and never see him again, or her. But, that would still be, it would be that kind of situation that would force me to think that I would send my child to a better life. I could never really conceive of giving up. Sending my child to an orphanage just so they can have, so they can play in a little league. Actually, that's what really touched me about the Elian Gonzalez problem. Is that people in Cuba were saying, well, why shouldn't he stay here, and wear Nikes and play in a little league and get to play on a Game Boy when if he went back to Cuba to a father, we were told to a father who loved him, and I've been told by Hannah Sophia that in Europe they would portray the father as not being someone who was really dedicated to his son and who wanted his son back. But it seemed to me to coming down again to, economics is like, well, why shouldn't he go for a better life in the U.S. instead of to stay with the father, and he might be poor and he might grow up as a street sweeper, but.
What I think is really
interesting. People were saying, well, to the father, why wouldn't you give your son up for a better life? And of course, if he did love his son, who could even,
What I think is really interesting about what you're talking about and what adoptees experience and know, and what we don't really, I don't know. What we know is that we know the value of culture in a different way. And like I was saying in the car, what a lot of people don't understand and take for granted is that their culture gives them strength. Much like you take your mother for granted until you leave and then you're like, wow, I have to cook for myself. I really appreciated having a mother. Your culture and your people, they really sustain, give you sustenance so that you can be an individual and take that out. And, as adoptees, I think we search, part of it is we're searching for that recognition and that, things like traditional things and details or, things that are familiar, the familiarity, I think. And so that's the thing I think we're like always trying to grasp or grapple with is the idea that you are going to have an education and it's going to be better. And it's true, And on that end, I can't really say. Because it is an opportunity to live in the U.S. But the other side of it that, again, when you're looking at that balance, the other side of it is, we can really appreciate the lack of what it means to not have that.
And that's what these gatherings and these mini gatherings really are for me, is getting back to people that have the same commonality as I do. Because there's so little of that in my life or a lot of our lives. But when we come to these things, it's sort of, for me, it's a grounding base.
Finally, in the hotel room, the three of us were able to share in person what we had already posted on the internet. Only this time, we could see each other's faces, take in body language, and respond with an immediate intimacy that only true life can provide.
We just shake our heads. It's like, how the heck did these two ever?
Well, it sounds like the issues with your mom are not so much that she's a lesbian, but that she's just kind of a really aggressive and abrasive person. It's not that she's, because obviously you have no problem with Kathy. It's just
Kathy's a sweetheart.
Mom had been a really cool, nice person, and just said, well, I happened to want to be with this woman instead of your dad, then it probably wouldn't have been that big of a. Yeah. Well, it still would have because your dad was a minister, but.
Yeah.
So what's Kathy's ex doing now?
Oh, Kathy's ex was a psycho bitch from hell.
No, I mean, oh, so she's always been a lesbian.
I guess so.
Okay.
She's always lived with women.
Okay, so she didn't come from a straight relationship.
Not at that point, but I mean, at some point in the time, she had dated Alan, so.
Oh, that's right.
It's like, okay, here's the chalkboard, and here's the family tree, and here's the diagrams, and I feel like a Madden, you know, and Jordan, he's Madden, go like, you need tally cards to keep up with my family. They're like so bizarre.
At least we don't have anybody like the person you were talking about that said that this is what we have to be grateful for.
Yeah.
I think we probably all jump on that person and pummel them.
Yes, exactly. Nobody has actually ever said that in my family. Though my stepmother was always sweet. She says, no, you don't need to be grateful. We are grateful that you've entered our lives.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah, she's such a neat woman.
Because you see somebody who realizes the absurdity of saying that.
Yeah. It's like, no, you shouldn't be grateful. We're grateful that you are part of our lives, you know, because you don't have to be. I said, I love her. She was the woman that my father should have married originally. Because she is so sweet. And stuff, so.
So my sister always likes to say, I don't know who she heard it from, but she says, yeah, you know, everyone always says, if we hadn't adopted you, you'd be a prostitute on the streets of
I'd be making a hell of a lot more
said,
money.
And she said, yeah, but I'd be a madam with 2 tea houses by now. I'd be rich.
I'd be rich. You know, because the older adoptees, at least we have something that we can sort of like validate the reasons of us being given up. Because, you know, like in Thomas's case, he was biracial, it was war-torn. My case, your case, the country was still very poor because they had just finished fighting a war. But when you're talking about the kids that were adopted in the 70s and 80s, Korea was very affluent.
Yeah, it's just definitely getting to the point where they should have been.
They should have been taking care of their own.
Yeah.
I was there from the 70s. They were having they had an economic, depression during the 70s.
Well,
That's when I was adopted.
I mean, I think that they definitely weren't rich like they are today.
Today.
They definitely, I think, had at least the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also generationally the people who adopt have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really, that has to affect the way that their children look at it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I think that our parents, I mean, even though it was still kind of a paternalistic attitude, it was still, let's do some good and help out these children. Whereas I think definitely in the 80s and 90s,
it's all about the parents.
We're all the latest, Koreans are all the latest rage. Chinese are all the latest rage.
The latest fashion accessory. You would like to think that they honestly believed that they were trying to help kids in a bad situation. I don't know. You know, I just sort of I can't change what happened. I can either let it eat me up.
Welfare state.
Yeah. I can either
America.
choose to let it eat me up and destroy my life, or I can just say, I have no control over what has happened. I only have control over where I go from here. And I can choose to let it destroy me, or I can choose to say, okay, I couldn't do anything about it, but now I am old enough I can control my own life, and I can go from there.
For a few days after that 4th of July weekend, the board was flooded with our stories and plans to meet again. In the months that followed, Unmi became call moderator. Anthony returned home from Iraq. Brandon bought his dream car. Trish, a lawyer, subsequently decided to devote her time to raising her children. She is now a stay-at-home mom. Peter continues to successfully run his internet business, where he buys and sells rare books, a Korean adoptee Horatio Alger. Becca enjoyed herself so much that she has become the unofficial welcome committee at all CAW events. Gradually, we wrote less and less. Eventually, a new crowd of adoptees found their way on the board, where they were able to talk about being adopted, about loving their adopted parents, but wondering about their birth parents, about being Asian but being raised culturally as white, about discovering language to put complex feelings into words, and finally having someone understand through shared experience.